Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Aniagolu. So Nigeria's 2023 presidential election, its cascading impact is likely to shape the course of this country into the next decade. And well ahead of the ballot, a new movement is challenging the country's old political order, led by inspiring and influential Nigerians who are trying to reinvent Nigerian society for the better. Their strategy, harnessing the voting power of the much ignored youth demographic, the unpredictable majority in Nigeria, who it is hoped will become the principal battleground in an election that, with their help, could end the age of bad governance. But is Nigeria a country ready for change? And the man behind the push, Atedo Peterside, founder of Stanbic IBTC Bank, president and founder of the ANAP Foundation, is still with me in the studio. Thank you very much for staying with us. Obviously, for the kids to have the full impact, you would need to have them get into political parties, because I mean they need to be able to not just have the capacity to vote, but to select the right candidates.
Sure. I mean, we're talking, step one is to register with INEC. Step two, pick up your voter's card. When you have your voter's card in your hand, step three, or indeed you can do some of them a bit simultaneously. Step three is to decide who you want to vote for, whether you want to be voted for. We would encourage all of that. Because the whole idea is that you want to get people politically active,
yes.
People who have given up on the system. If you get somebody politically active and he gets so active that he now wants to join the fray himself, indeed, one of the people in our group of 18, influencers that we started off with is Ibrahim Waziri. He won election into the House of Rep at age 25.
Yes, I read that.
Yeah. So the point we're making is, again, which that's partly why he's there, that it's been done before. Now, if people are so disillusioned that they think that it's impossible for them to even be voted for, let's remember that elections isn't about presidency alone. House of Assembly, House of Rep, even local government elections and all that. So who do you want to represent you? Do you want a hoodlum to represent you? Or do you want somebody from your own demography, somebody who is competent, somebody who you think has your interest at heart? We're saying people should get up and take charge of their affairs.
Well, I mean, it makes sense on the face of it, but do you detect a new sort of energy on the part of young people this time? Because there's been after that NSAS protest, there was so much, society was so galvanized, particularly young society. Do you see that as sort of new energy?
I'll be honest with you, the energy is not there right now, but it can come back. You remember how quickly it came during NSAS? So that shows you that there's a latent energy. There's a gentle giant that can wake up. Now, the truth also is that, and I've worked with young people all my life. Even when I was young, I worked with young people. Now I'm older, I also work with young people. I can also tell you that if you start something like this too early with young people, you cannot maintain the momentum. I remember during the NSAS period, talking about elections in 2023, some of them said, look, that's too far away, we can't wait. So there you go. If you start too early, people will think you're just ahead of time. If you start too late, it's too late. So there's a right time. And I can assure you that everything that one does in life, you try and think about the right message, the right messenger, right place, right time. November 2021 was not an accident. So when I started thinking about this, I penciled it down that the time to start is probably November 2021. I could be right, I could be wrong. It could be too early, it could be too late. You've got to pick a time. You've got to pick a time that you think is the right time. And I didn't think that November to 2020 was the right time. It was too far away.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that. Although I don't know, I mean, in the context of Nigeria, I don't know what time is too long or too short. I mean, it usually internationally, people tend to start about the time that you're starting, when they want to kind of, follow through with a campaign. But has it become a sort of self-reinforcing process where, in Nigeria, where candidates don't target the youth because they don't vote, and the youth do not vote because candidates are not talking about issues that matter to them?
Yes, that's what I call the vicious cycle. What you've done is to describe it even better. And that's why I said we must break that vicious cycle. The reality is that in some countries, politicians are afraid of the voters because the voters are the people that get angry and can throw you out of office. If many of the voters, the young ones, stay out, potential voters, it also makes the politician feel a lot more secure. So we want to get back to an arrangement where politicians are afraid of voters. What we have in Nigeria today, and I'm not the one who first said it, I'm quoting somebody, I can't remember his name. What we have in Nigeria is that it is the voter that's afraid of the politician, almost. Because the voter believes that if he does the wrong thing, the politician who's in power will get the police or the army to have him shot. Meanwhile, it should be that in an election season, it is the politician that is wooing the voters,
who's courting
them and doing everything. But some of the politicians are actually happy that in particular the educated youths are absent because they love that because they're the ones who will ask you the most difficult questions. They're the ones who will heckle you at a campaign rally. They're the ones who will ask you about your background, your track record, where did you school, what have you done before, why should I vote for you? So if they stay out of the way and you're only dealing with people who just tell you, okay, how much do you have for us? The game becomes easier for the politician.
And for you to achieve the things you want to achieve, which I think a lot of people would be supportive of. I mean, there need to be obviously reforms within the electoral system.
Sure.
Are you happy with the Electoral Amendment Act, the direct primaries that have been introduced in there, the method of transmission of results?
I think the most important single thing is the method of transmission of results. Only hooligans favor this whole idea of you finish voting at a polling booth, you don't transmit results. You say you're going to carry everything to a counting center so that people can snatch the ballot box, they can stuff ballot boxes. So the people who get up and argue against that, announcing the results at the polling booth and transmitting them, are really telling us that at the end of the day, and I hate to say it, but the bulk of them, they're happy to empower hooligans. Now the kind of person who's happy to empower hooligans, we've got to look at him very closely. So I was happy that sanity prevailed and eventually we seem to have the critical mass, people saying, hang on a second, we've got to do better than this. If on June 12, 1993, some of us knew the effective results by the end of the day because of mobile phones, how can we in 2021 or 2023 still be going backwards instead of forwards?
So by that reckoning, would you say that there is a crisis in Nigeria's democracy? Because, I mean, so few young people are so turned off that they don't bother to register to vote.
Yes, that's partly why we're doing this. If there was no crisis, we wouldn't be out here trying to do something different. And the other thing I'm going to point out is that beyond talking about crisis, because sometimes that distracts people, let me ask you a question, because you're the interviewer, but I can probably ask you a question. We all agree that Nigeria is broken and needs to be fixed. If you do a critical diagnosis, what is the fundamental thing that we need to change before we can turn the trajectory?
And we've got about a minute.
One of those things has got to be bring in all the voters, get people politically active, hold politicians to account. People must believe that the process, the votes will count and all that. So that is our message, that is the beginning of the type of Nigeria we're looking for.
How long have you embarked on this drive? I mean, you came up with the idea in November last year.
November this year was when we came up with the idea. This year.
Okay.
November this year. Yes. And there was an article I wrote in some newspapers explaining all this and saying we're going to start now. So it was only last month. And so the crescendo is going to be from now and build up through 2022.
Well, you have the support of many people, I'm sure. Thank you very much indeed. Atedo Peterside is the founder of IBTC, Stanbic IBTC Bank, and of course the founder and president of ANAP Foundation. That's it for this edition of the Arise interview. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.